Welcome to Soltron. This is my video review for my custom Sentai Gekitouja, or Power Rangers Jungle Megazord with the line combination. Here's how he looks alongside Magiking, which I previously reviewed. And just like Magiking, I mostly modded this guy for articulation and better proportions. So this is what he looks like with his lion armor on, so he gets a shield, and then I made him like this sword, and he also has like this night visor, this kind of helmet. Here's a close-up of his head so you can see like his original mouth and nose under it. So I think that's a pretty cool looking new head sculpt, or a new addition. It's a cool helmet, kind of flows together with everything. So I think that's a pretty awesome look. Overall, I really like this new Dark Knight look, and then he's got, of course, he's got a cape in the back. It's got gold and black. So I think that's pretty awesome. So we'll start taking off all his little extra bits, and then we'll go over his articulation and stuff. So the shield just clips into his forearm. It's got this little post, and that just slots right into this hole right here, so that's nice and easy. And then the lion bits, there's a ball joint right here in the back of the shoulders, and that connects the lion parts. And so these shoulder bits have a fair bit of articulation, so they can get out of the way when he articulates. And then you can see his wrist is a little loose for this giant sword. But that way he can raise his sword and still have his shoulder armor in the correct place. And then his sword is just held in. I gave this guy finger articulation so he can just open and close his fist. And then nothing changed with the chest armor, that just holds in place as the original figure. And then with the helmet, it's a little bit tricky. It's got some plastic molded inside that mates to the inside of the tiger mouth. And that's what holds that in place. And then finally his cape is just held in place by these two metal ports that connect to two magnets sewn in the cape. Okay, so now we have all these lion bits, and we just recombine everything back into a lion shape. So this clips together like the original figure. You move these connection ports, you move those down, and then you're just going to throw the helmet somewhere inside his body. And then you're going to neatly fold up this cape. Okay, I just rolled it up, and then that also fits inside the body. And then you're going to put the back cover on. This might take some doing. Alright, so there's the lion's body, and then this port for the head just connects back to the body here. And then finally, the sword piece is just going to stick into this hole in the back of the lion. You're going to see that a lot. And then there's basically the lion reformed. So now you have Gekitouja with his pet lion, which is pretty cool. Okay, and then Gekitouja does have like his Nunchuck Weapon, so that's kind of just slotted back here. So you could just slide this whole thing out. And then it unfolds like this. And those can just be placed into his hands for some cool poses. So we can just hold that like a martial arts master. Oh, and then it was really important to me on this custom to keep his electronics intact. So you could just flip the switch, and then his belt button. And then he can still rotate. One problem, I don't know what happened to this guy, but this hand still lights up, and then somewhere there's a loose wire on this LED, so this hand's not lighting up. I don't know what happened, so I'd have to disassemble his arm, and then probably his chest, and look and see where a wire probably got tugged out. But that was really important to me, that he could still do these poses, and he could still have his really cool spinning gimmick. So here's a cool pose of him just like holding his nunchucks, so let's wind him up. So that's pretty awesome, so you can swing that around and hit the camera. But I really like that that gimmick's still intact, and I think this weapon works out really well. I think he looks really cool holding that. So anyway, so that's his finger articulation, so these fists can open up, and then he can kind of point with 2 fingers while his other 2 fingers are articulated. So they're separately articulated. I probably could have did this a little bit better. It looks a little bit messy, but it's cool that he has the option. And then he has a double ball joint neck, so his head can get a wide range of motion, so he can easily look side to side. And then for his night mode, his head does extend a little bit because it needs to be a little bit higher. And then of course he has this original gimmick here, and then he's got the original shoulder articulation. So I was glad I was able to keep those ratchets. And then he has these ball joint elbows, and then he's got the original pivot for his wrists. And then he's got these ball joint elbows, which are good for articulation, and you can see the wires are just exposed and hanging out there. And then he's also got ball joint hips, so he can get a really good range of outward kick. And it's got forward and backward kick as well, so he can kick almost 90 degrees forward. And then I had to do a little bit of shaving in the plastic here, but if you kind of untransform him a little bit, he can get almost 90 degrees of knee bend. Or actually, 90 degrees exactly. And then this paw kind of faces out, but I think it's worthwhile to get that articulation. So this guy already had pretty decent articulation, but I really ramped it up. And then in the back, there's not much going on. He looks the same as the stock figure. So that's the articulation and proportions mods that I did to this guy to make him look a lot better. So he looks a lot more like a martial artist. He's got a very long, graceful body now. So we'll go ahead and uncombine him for the separate cat modes. So these you just press the button and those still detach the same way as the original figure. So I was able to keep that combination gimmick. And then for red, you just flip up the head, flip up the jaw, and now he's got a double jointed head, so his tiger head can look in all directions. And then one thing I didn't take into account is that these fingers make the fist a lot thicker, so he looks pretty unnatural walking on these tiger claws now. So that's too bad. And then the back legs you just disengage and open up. And then we'll go ahead and turn off his gimmick before I activate it by accident. Okay, so there's the red tiger, and he looks pretty awesome. And then you take the Nunchuck Weapon, and they come off on these little, I don't know what you call these, but these are like pull chain tablets. So you need these for their tails. And the red tail, you kind of just push in the end of this tail right here, or you push in the chain and get it out of the way, and then that's just going to connect to this post in the back here. So that just goes in there, and now he has a tail. And that's, of course, also on a ball joint. So there's red all done. I don't know why he's standing awkwardly. Oh. Okay. And then blue, you just transform normally. You just pull out the neck, and then lower the legs, push the heel in, and then lower these legs, and then same thing with him. He's got this little post back here, and then you just shove that into the end of the tail, and now he's got a tail as well. And then the bit of articulation I added to this guy was a ball joint neck, so he can look around. So not much else different on him. You can do this, but that's more because I was just opening up space so the combined mode could bend his knee. And then Cheetah, same thing, same transformation. And then I also added a neck joint to this one. And then same thing for the combined For the tail in the back, that's just going to go into this post right here, and then he's got a waggling tail. Alright, so that's all the cats together, and they look pretty awesome. And then we bring in Lion, finally. And then Lion, I did add some articulation, of course, so he's got ball joint neck, so he can look in all directions. He's got the jaw opens and closes a lot more now, so he can get a big opening mouth. And then he's got all his legs are on ball joints, so they could spread out a little bit. And then the front feet are also on ball joints. And then finally the tail is also on a ball joint. Alright, and this is the whole set all together. So this is one of my favorite Megazords. I just like the combination. It's a lot like Voltron, but let me know what you think in the comments.